proud members of the Fan First Sports Network.
He comes from true winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as
we
that pains
have
me
not
to say,
had
God, I hate saying
true
that.
winning
Ugh.
in this program forever. You look at the guys we brought in before.
45, 40, 35, 40, he's gonna go! It's time, people, feel us!
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better! He gets better and better! Team is getting big, If we die, we die!
Man, put a child in that, put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln!
Welcome into the Big Red Junkies. I am BJ. This is Jed. This is Matt, recently released from prison.
Seriously.
The man who cracks the beer himself.
If the state pen could stop calling me, that'd be great.
Captain winner of the props last year. We are the Big Red Junkies. We are excited to have you guys in. If this is your first time, what the fuck have you been doing with your lives?
Never forget your first.
Never forget your first. Do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, follow, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. We appreciate you guys. Love the support. Drop a comment in. Let us know how stupid our show sounds, or how great you think it is.
Yeah.
Whichever. We'd love to hear from you. Today we're talking about incoming. Top 5 incoming, most impactful. The guys
The
we think are
newcomers.
going to be the best.
Most impactful, most exciting.
Something weird that Jed's going to put together.
Something weird that Jed's
I'm not
going to
sure.
do.
I
I
guarantee.
bet Jack McAllister's on his list.
I was literally about to say, I guarantee there's a fucking long snapper on his list.
That's a punter,
I
but yeah.
bet you I can count to 5.
That's true. We'll see if I can. If you didn't catch it, I did 6 for our defensive show.
If you didn't catch it, go back and catch it because it was pretty fucking stupid of him. So
Yeah, it was real dumb, but it was a great list. If you haven't yet, we did do an offensive returners top 5. We did a defensive returners top 5. All came out in the last week and a half. Do us a favor, go check those out as well. They're about 30 minutes a piece. This one might be a little bit quicker, I think, because I think we're gonna align on some more of these this time.
Probably.
Kicking us off, Jed is gonna hit us with his number 5.
Well, since you kind of teased it a little bit ago, he's not on my list. But I always start this with
He
guys.
comes with number 6.
I had to, you guys are going to laugh, and that's fine because you laughed all last year, and look what happened. I hated not putting on the long snapper from New Hampshire and you can't laugh this year because of what happened last year. It's a vitally, vitally important position.
we
I
can
agree.
still laugh
It
about
sucks that he's not on my list. He should be, but he's not on my list.
Did you notice how the transfer special teams specialists that we brought in, they're just Irish? We have Kevin Galick and Jack McAllister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat McCrotch is in for kicking next year.
Yeah, well, we need a little luck of the Irish, so
For sure. But that's what we brought in on the offensive line, too.
yes.
We'll get there. Who's your number 5, man?
My number 5 is Andrew Marshall from Idaho. He's a defensive back. He's probably more of a kick return guy.
Another specialist for our special teams.
Well,
Here we go.
Again, kind of something that we really, really need.
Yes.
Last year at Idaho, he had a punt return and a kickoff return for a touchdown, both, something that we haven't had for a very, very long time. At Idaho, he averaged 41 yards per kickoff return and just barely over 10 yards per punt return at Idaho. So, forget whatever the hell he does in the defensive back area. We need him as a return guy.
Yes. And we've got enough on the defensive back side.
Yeah.
The name that I have heard him compared to, just from a style of his returning, is DeMornay Pierce-Snell.
Okay.
That's the people that
You mean freshman year DeMornay, because after
yeah,
that.
well, yes. Before the celebration.
Yeah.
Before the celebration. If you don't know what that was,
Purdue's field sucks.
He jumped up as high as he possibly could to celebrate a touchdown return and tore his ACL, I believe, or MCL.
And essentially talked
At
himself
Purdue.
out of playing football for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it was bad. Never as fast ever again.
Nope.
Matt, who's your number 5, man?
My number 5, he could have been a little higher. Dason McCullough, however you pronounce his last name. McCullough.
Dason McCullough.
Nailed it.
He's number 5. I think he's going to be a great addition to an already pretty deep room there at the Jacks, the linebackers position. So I think he's going to bring some good experience, but I've got some guys I'm more excited about on my list. So that's why he's at number 5.
I'm going to wait to talk about Darth Vader himself
I
until
will,
later.
I will as well.
Cool.
My number 5 that I have coming in is actually Elijah Pritchett. It would make sense to put the starting left tackle a little bit higher, but there is honestly just some guys that are a little bit more exciting than this. Elijah Pritchett is a very proven SEC ground down starting left tackle that started all season last year for Alabama, started multiple games in the season prior at Alabama. The guy didn't have great stats last year. If you follow Pro Football Focus, he didn't grade out that well, but he was playing in the SEC at Alabama as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that without being extremely talented. Plain and simple, we haven't had a truly highly talented, highly coveted potential NFL guy at left tackle for a very long time, and I am so excited. And I'm guessing Dylan Raiola probably is too.
Oh, yeah. A little bit. My number 4 is Marcus Watson Trent, the transfer from Georgia Southern. I mean, you have a guy that had over 100 tackles for 3 consecutive seasons. He was the Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year. 26 tackles for loss in his 3 years. Like, yes, please, because we need more guys. I mean, I know in the defensive show we talked about Shavers and we talked about Javin Wright and all that stuff at linebacker, but being able to put in a guy like that, you mentioned on the defensive show, BJ, Levante David, a comparison to one of the guys. That's basically who this guy is. He's basically a see-ball, get-ball guy. Like, I don't really want to compare somebody to Levante David without seeing him play completely against high-level competition, because a comparison to Levante David is a big comparison.
Yes.
But you just look at his numbers and you're just like, holy shit, he's just always going to be around the ball.
Yeah. Big nose for the ball. And from what I understand, based on the amount of time that he's played, the number of games that he's played, he would be tied, or he'd be in second place in all-time tackles at Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And he's played at Nebraska already and beat our pants off at Georgia Southern.
Yes, he did.
So, and you know, we could actually probably thank him for firing Scott Frost.
Yeah, I'd like to thank a lot of people for finally doing that.
I'd like to thank
Wasn't that the game, though, that got Frost fired?
Yeah,
I'd like to thank the Colombian drug lords for firing Scott Frost.
Christ. Back on track. Matt, who's your number 4?
Sorry, I gotta get off the Scott Frost being a coke addict.
It's done snowing.
Fucking cokehead. Jesus.
Williams Nwaneri. I picked the rough last names to start with.
The N is silent. It's Winery.
Nwaneri. Perfect. He's my number 4. Yes, he's young. I think the sky's the limit for him. He's incredibly talented. It's another room that's kind of full, but I think he's going to be one of those players that's just undeniable, gets on the field and fucks some people up. So he's on my list.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. He just missed my list. To be honest with you.
Same.
He's a guy.
Are you sure?
There's a very
he's gonna be 1B.
Hilarious.
He's gonna be 1B in a second.
Yeah, I would call him 5C actually.
4.2.
I'll talk about him as 5C. We'll go backwards here real quick because he's a guy that I do think when you look at the talent that came in this season, he has the highest ceiling. Yeah. He is one of the highest graded out of high school players that's ever played at Nebraska, period. We have, when you look at him and Dylan Raiola from last year's class, because they're in the same class, we now have 2 of the top 5 recruits in that class at Nebraska. That's an enormous thing.
Yep. Kind of exciting.
He was not well taken care of at Missouri. I think he was kind of sold a bill of goods down there, and they don't do a good job working with their underclassmen, which is why he was available on the market. I'm very excited to have him here, and I think that he's going to be an instant impact guy. I just don't know that it's going to be right away for him. Like, I could see him coming on second half of the season after he's had some time to develop and do some of the things that guys like Keona Davis and Cam Lenhart and all those dudes that are going to be ahead of him have already done.
I could see one injury, like a 1 or 2 week injury, giving him the opening he needs to bust through that door like a fucking Kool-Aid man.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I'm here, you're not taking me off the field kind of guy.
Well, apparently his weight wasn't where Nebraska wanted him to be playing, but they expected this to be like maybe he'll get in there by fall. And he's coming into spring ball already at the weight that they want him to play.
Dasan McCullough said today that he was at like 270.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Up from like 245.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Cool.
I'll take it.
I've talked a lot about a guy that's not on my list. But ironically, though Jed doesn't have him on the list, I actually have Jack McAllister as my number 4.
Okay.
The reason for that is we talked about this a lot when we talked about the Iowa game.
I didn't even look at special teams guys for this.
That's fair. We talked about newcomers in general.
Yep.
I think when you talk about, especially the way that we play one-score games, being able to control the field, it's massive.
Chasing 3.
And this
I know he's a punter.
He's a punter, but I'm just talking about field position.
That's what I was about to say.
If you can control the field position in many of these, especially later in the year games, Jack McAllister is going to step in nicely and take over a spot where we lost a good guy. And that's going to be huge. I don't have to say much about him. He's a good punter. A lot of people wanted him. I'm glad we got him.
He's a Bushini replacement for 1 year as we get whoever the young kid is.
Caden Cook.
Yeah, kind of get up to speed on everything. Yep. So he's definitely not somebody that I'm concerned about.
I agree.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Dasan McCullough. We've already said pretty much everything that is, you kind of brought him up in the defensive show where we're having a newcomer come in and he's basically an MJ Sherman type plus 2 inches and, more athletic and all that stuff. So
2 inches is a lot.
It is.
It's crazy when you look at pictures of MJ Sherman and pictures of Dasan McCullough because McCullough looks so much like slighter, like skinnier. He weighs more than MJ Sherman did. It's like, whoa, this guy's huge.
That's what 2 inches will do, though.
But he's also super, super fast. From what I understand, he can cover. Like he played safety at Oklahoma. Some like the dude's wildly, freakishly talented. That's also why he's not at number 3 for me.
Yeah. There's not really, other than what
we already kind of talked about it. Sounds like he's a little higher on BJ's list, so we might talk about it some more.
I'm going to continue to wait on Darth Vader, please.
I picked an easier last name for my number 3. I went with Dane Key. I think he's going to be a stud at wide receiver for us. I think he's going to be someone that we desperately needed for Dylan Raiola coming into this season.
Mm-hmm.
And if he isn't everything that I want him to be, I'm going to chase him with a pitchfork. So
he'll outrun you.
So he will 1,000% outrun you.
He'll be okay.
He'll outrun me by jogging. So
Dane's walking and Matt is panting. I don't know what's happening here. I'm not going to talk about him yet. I will talk about another wide receiver though, because at number 3 I have Isaiah Hunter. That's my guy at number 3, and I actually think, and I'll just go ahead and say it now. I'll go my number 2 as well. Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter, you probably could interchange them here. I think that you can't downplay the amount of experience that Dane Key has, especially coming out of the SEC. That's going to be bigger than anything that was played at in the Big 12 or whatever was left of the Pac-12. Where did Cal even end up? I don't even know. ACC, okay.
They ended up almost getting rid of their football team.
Yeah, almost getting rid of their football team and then actually being decently good. And Isaiah Hunter had a tremendous freshman season out there. He's got great numbers. I think the guy has got some amazing speed. And from what I understand, his frame, he's like 6'2", like 220. Apparently he can get immediate separation. And then he's got a top end speed that matches Ja'Cory Barney. That's slightly terrifying. Awesome. If he isn't a guy who turns out to be an Isaiah Nair and can't catch anything and kind of gives up on routes, it's going to be very disappointing. I don't think that's what we're bringing in for a second year in a row. So I'm super excited about Isaiah Hunter. Dane Key, same type of shit that you just said. The guy's got NFL written all over him. He didn't have the greatest shot at Kentucky, and I think that's why he's here. That and because his coach is here and a number of other reasons. But he's going to be the number 1 guy. He's got number 1 wide receiver written all over him. The worst thing that could happen to him is an injury. But if there's no injury involved and Dylan Raiola plays the way I believe Dylan Raiola is going to play this year,
it'll be a fun year for those two.
That guy's going to be looking at NFL.
Yeah, I'm just going to slide right into my number 2, and it's Dane Key. He's not necessarily a deep threat guy because he only had 6 receptions past the 20-yard line last year at Kentucky, but it doesn't mean that he's not capable of it, obviously. He's probably going to be the 5th consecutive transfer wide receiver that Nebraska's had leading the team in receiving yards. So, okay, I guess you're going to be on the list and very high. So,
hey, they keep going out and finding the guys they need.
Absolutely, that's fine.
I'm not complaining about it.
Not at all.
So you guys both covered your number 2s already. Yeah. Okay, my number 2 and my number 1 reasonably interchangeable, but you'll see that I focused very heavily on the offensive line here at the end of my list. So Elijah Pritchett is my number 2 guy. And that's just because I think, well, he's going to be phenomenal, but he's going to be one of 2 major leaders that we need.
Your number 1 is probably my number 1 as well.
Yeah. Rocco Spindler?
Yeah.
So, and we can get into that in a second, but for Elijah Pritchett being my number 2.
Go ahead and go into number 1 because we're all doing number 1s now anyway. So.
For Rocco Spindler, he obviously great talent, lots of experience. The reason that he got to be number 1 over Elijah is that he has that next step experience, that not just bowl game experience, but went through, played in the actual title game this year experience. You can't, that's an intangible that should not be overlooked when it comes to a squad, especially like an offensive line.
Yep.
Like anywhere on the team that's important, but specifically somewhere where you have to have a very cohesive, very in tune together unit like the O-line, it's unbeatable. So that's why he's my number 1.
Yeah, 1,200 snaps in the last 2 seasons, all that experience, not just game time with exactly what you just said, Matt, as far as the high quality game time that he had. We need a guy to be on the inside to, as good as we talked earlier on the offensive show, how good Lutovsky and Evans is. I'm sorry, but Spindler's better. So he's absolutely going to be the right guard, and we need a guy like that. You know, we talked about having a guy like that with Mazuka last year, but Mazuka just didn't pan out to be that guy, at least the guy that we expected. I'm not saying that he sucked completely, but he wasn't the guy that we expected. And I can only imagine Spindler is going to be that guy that we expected. And Raiola is just going to be extra happy having him there.
He's going to be playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
Is all I can say.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And just because you guys gave me so much shit about it, I did it again. And I have 2 number 1s.
Because he forgot to put Spindler on there.
No, actually,
he
forgot.
how
I
count
planned
to
this.
6.
I planned this from the beginning.
Sure you did.
No, I did.
Yeah.
I did because you brought it up again at the beginning of the show.
I plan to stub my toe at 3:00 in the morning sometimes.
For real though, I would actually put Rocco Spindler at my 1B just simply because I'm putting Darth Vader at number 1, and I'll get there in a second. But Rocco Spindler has to be number 1 on this list just simply because of the experience that you guys have already talked about, but also because he comes from true winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as
We
that
have
pains me to
not
say,
had
God, I hate
true
saying that.
winning
Ugh.
in this program forever. You look at the guys we brought in before, prior to this, and we talked about this a little bit. I don't remember if we've actually touched about it on a show or not. But when you look at our past transfer classes so far, we've brought in guys we expected to be talented. We've brought in high-level guys, but they haven't come from winning programs. He's coming from, like we just got done talking about, a team that lost in the national championship, a team that overcame tremendous adversity early in the season last year where they shit the bed against a terrible team.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wrote him off. They were fucking horrible. He came from a great coaching staff, and he wasn't a guy that Notre Dame expected to lose. He was a guy that was fighting to keep his spot because they have so many, like their offensive line super talented and super deep. But he was under a great O-line coach there who had a similar philosophy to what we have here. When he talked about the money aspect of what his transfer portal stuff looked like, we were not the number 1 option. Money financially.
Yeah, his dad told him.
He had 2 or 3 options that were higher paying than ours.
His dad was like, the money will take care of itself. Don't worry about that. Look at facilities and the coaching staff and all that stuff.
One of the things,
and also a quarterback that can go, win you some fucking games.
He did bring up the quarterback.
He did. That's the only reason that I brought it up.
There's that. And he also, his dad actually has a tie to Raiola's dad, which is kind of crazy. But when you look back at it, because he was calling Detroit Lions games when Donovan was at, or Dominic was at the Lions.
Well, and also they were talking about it today. Sorry, real quickly again with Spindler. Apparently there was a baby picture of him in a Nebraska jersey too.
Yeah,
somewhere that they found.
His mom found.
Yeah.
Nice. Playing the
so
long game. I like it.
There's all those things that go into it, but when you really just break it down, this is a dude who comes from a winning culture under some really, really strong coaching that's coming in, and he is extremely well spoken. He has a great education. He went to Notre Dame. You ain't like to compare and contrast coming from Alabama and Notre Dame. Cool, they're both super winning programs. One played and was recruited under Nick Saban. That's invaluable. That you can't even put a price on that. But also, you can't put a price on the education that Rocco Spindler received completing his undergrad at Notre Dame, coming in, like the guy's smart as hell.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously a hard worker, and he's our most talented offensive lineman coming into this season. He also happens to be making comments about how he thinks this team is more talented, like physically talent on the field, than what Notre Dame was last year. That should tell you a lot of, like,
especially towards the end with all the injuries.
That's fine. I'm just simply saying, well, you don't say those things unsolicited. If somebody directly asked you, then you should say, well, we played in the national championship. What do you expect? Why lie about it? I'm not taking it as 100%. I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but I am going to say.
And I'm also not taking it as 0.
That's also to say this dude does know what it looks like in the locker room, and he's saying, guys, we're not that far away.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that are going to hear me pick Nebraska to win 10 or 11 games this year, don't call me an asshole.
No, you don't get to pick you don't get to pick Nebraska to win any games this year, so we can win all of them.
Also, you're not going to pick 10 or 11. You're going to pick 12.
No, maybe we'll see what happens.
Better fucking not.
But to get to my number one, my true number one, Darth Vader, Deshaun McCullough. Like, I'm going to be making a graphic of this guy, like, as Darth Vader. I don't know if you guys saw his press conference. The dude is straight out of a novel from like a bad guy perspective. He just looks like a dude with bad intentions.
Dude, you're lifting the table up. Calm down.
I'm so excited about this guy. And I think one of the major selling points to getting him to come to Nebraska, because for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, this is the transfer that came out of Oklahoma. The guy's kind of played all over the place when it comes to the back end of the defense. He has the ability to rush the passer. He has the ability to drop in coverage. A lot of the things that people loved about Prince Will, Umami Ellen, he already has done and does better. And he's bigger, and he's stronger, and he's just as fast. I think that there's a lot of that to play into it. He's a senior. He's going to be an immediate impact leader on this defense, just as much, if not more, than what Rocco Spindler is on the offense. I'm super excited about it. You brought in, like, between those two dudes, and that's why they had to be co-number ones in this situation, especially since you goaded me into it.
We didn't goad you into shit.
These
You
guys,
last time.
That wasn't on us.
These guys are both, like, mountain-style dudes that you're bringing in that can easily, like, we talked about Jamal Banks being a leader on the offense last year. This is Rocco Spindler's that times 10. Deshaun McCullough is that times 10 on the defensive side. I'm super fucking excited about him. What do you guys think? Am I an idiot? Am I an asshole for picking 6 for the second show in a row?
Yes.
Yes and yes.
Drop your comments. Let us know what you think. We'd love to see what your list is. Any final thoughts, boys?
Go Big Red.